So can we start? Are we ready over there? Yes? Okay, so good afternoon. It's 2 p.m. It's a tough time because it's just after lunch, but I hope that we will be interesting enough so that we keep you awake. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Marie-Laure Lemineur. You can call me Mary. I'm based in Bangkok, Thailand, and I work for an organization called APrIGF International. We are a network of NGOs, of actually 90 NGOs in 82 countries. And our objective is to combat the sexual exploitation of children. Personally, within the organization, I'm in charge of the topic of sexual exploitation and abuse online through the use of ICTs. So, a little bit of, before I introduce the speakers, let me clarify that I guess you all know that we are being recorded. There is transcript over there. We have remote participation. We will have one remote speaker. And now I think what we're planning to do is to have a presentation. Each speaker is going to speak around 10 to 12 minutes. Then we will open the floor for questions, and then we will wrap up the session with the concluding observations. But of course, if you want to ask questions, before we open the floor, please feel free to do it, and we will take the questions. So with us today we have Ms. Celeste Yang, who is corporate attorney for Microsoft Taiwan. Then we have Claire Cheng, who is the supervisor of the Child Online Safety section at APrIGF Taiwan. And I'm glad to say that APrIGF Taiwan is a member of our network. And very proud also because they do an excellent work, of course. Then we have David sorry, is that correct, your name? Yeah? David Okay. So I was briefed, but I did a good job. David is the Director of Community Engagements with the .Kids Foundation based in Hong Kong. And then finally we have Miss Aki Das, who is based in India and is a Facebook Public Policy Director, and she's covering the region. She's covering India, South and Central Asia. So, and we have a remote speaker who is Miss Bindu Sharma. She works for the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is known as ICMEC, which is based, it's a US organization, but she's based in Singapore, and she's the Public Policy Director for ICMEC for the region, for Asia Pacific. So the topic that is bringing us together today is the role of key stakeholders in disrupting the dissemination of what we call child sexual abuse materials online. Some people do refer to it as child pornography. It's the same, but we don't like to use this terminology for different reasons. We might touch upon this subject, but terminology is very important to us. So, but you need to understand that this is what we're talking about, child pornography. Very briefly, what I would like to say is that I don't know whether you saw it, but the International Telecommunication Union, the ITU, like 3 or 4 days ago, issued their annual ICT statistics, and the world statistics about connectivity, internet connectivity. And so for this year, when you look at the trends in terms of internet connectivity, you see that 47% of the world is connected. This is beyond 3.5 billion people in the world. And when it comes to the region, Asia Pacific, it's almost 42%. It's 41.9%. Those are the latest figures. So clearly here, even if there are still, a lot of gaps in terms of internet speed, broadband speed, costs, and this is, we're not here to discuss this today, but I mean, we're all aware that it's happening. But the spirit behind my comment here is to make you aware that, there is a trend here. It's increasing connectivity. And of course, with the opportunities that this brings, there are, increased exposure to risks and people increasingly being harmed also, and especially the most vulnerable sectors of society, who are the children. So we have the wonderful many opportunities for all of us, and even for the children who can exercise their rights online and the same way they do offline, but they are also exposed to risks, and some of them are being harmed. So this is why there are many, global initiatives, and one of them you might have heard is called the We Protect Global Alliance, has been launched a couple of years ago by the UK government. And what is interesting is that they issued what they call a model national response. You might be aware of it, and basically presents all the areas in one particular country that should be tackled in order to be able to disrupt child sexual abuse materials online. So depending where you belong, if you're private sector, if you are civil society, if you are social workers, government, depending on where you are, if you look at the model, you can see all the pieces fitting together and all coming together, then we will be efficient in disrupting child online abuse materials. And this is why we're here, all of us today. We had this idea that, none of us alone has the answer, and all of us, we have a role to play in disrupting this kind of abuse and exploitation online. So each of us, each of the speakers, they're going to present their own perspective and about what they do, what they could do, and what are the challenges. So I've spoken too much. So now I'll give the floor to Celeste, who can further explain what Microsoft is doing in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marie, for the great introduction. And I'm extremely honored to be here this afternoon to talk about this very important issue. As Marie talked about, online pornography or online child sexual abuse images are really serious problem on the internet space. So I would like to, to first talk about what our commitment is. So it's been over a decade that Microsoft has been committed to be a trustworthy computing company. We want to advocate online safety, and we think it's important that everyone understands how to be a digital citizen, which means to provide a safer space, to be a more responsible person. So when we do see these images online, what can we do as a person, or as a law enforcement, or as a company that has access to all these kind of images? So we created a special department in Microsoft called Digital Crimes Unit. It's known as DCU. And for DCU, we have two important goals. One is to keep the internet safe from malware attacks. So we're fighting malware. And the second part is we want to protect the vulnerable population. And vulnerable population would include children in this case. And we also work on elderly people's scams, tech scams currently. That's the two big projects. So for the vulnerable population, the problem we're facing now is that here are some statistics I would like to share. So 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 10 boys will be sexually abused by the age of 18. And that is a very serious, a very high percentage. And a lot of time, while this abuse occurred, images are stored. And we have to understand when these images are transferred and viewed, every time it's a re-abuse to the victim. Okay, so if we take a look at how many these pictures are being transferred, so there are 500 images of sexually abused children traded online approximately every 60 seconds. So it's not just the victim itself. Now the images are becoming over and over mailed or sent and received and viewed. So there are about 1.8 billion images uploaded and shared every single day. So the problem now is on the internet space, there are so many pictures, so many images online. How do we find them, right? Is it by viewing them? But as we just mentioned, every time you view it, the victim feels she or he is re-victimized again. So this is probably not a very good way to approach it. You know, considering the larger amount of images and the possibility of seeing the picture, which might cause more damage, what do we do? How do we tackle this problem? Right? So finding a child sexual abuse image out of the billions is like finding a needle in a haystack. Right? We want to do it, but we should do it appropriately. So what Microsoft did was we worked with Dartmouth College and also EMNEC, right, to work on a technology called PhotoDNA. The goal is that we want to protect these children. We want to bring more awareness, and also we want to partner with different organizations or law enforcement to do this. So let me briefly talk about what PhotoDNA, how it works, right? First, there are five stages. Okay. First, we would rely on a trusted source. It might be an organization, right? Like in the US, it's NCMEC. Right? In Taiwan, it's Taiwan APAC. So we're very grateful that they're working with us. And we give the technology to them, so they have the ability to identify these images. When they have these images, they can use PhotoDNA to transfer the image into a numerical numbers. So it becomes like a digital fingerprint, a hash number. So when you transfer the image into a number, you don't have to see the image anymore. And the victims, they don't have to feel like they're being viewed again. But at the same time, they will have the assurance that we're doing something about these images. So that's the value of PhotoDNA. They can transfer this image into numbers. And then once you have this hash, then we start working with different organizations or enterprises or ISP, where content generated by users, where they might have a lot of images on their website. Then we would also transfer those images into numbers and do a matching, right? So if the hash matches, then we know that on this website or in this organization there is that particular image. Then we can communicate to the law enforcement or others to take it down. So that's the whole idea of PhotoDNA. We develop this idea, this technology, and we work with different NGOs to spread it out. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's this one. So we are now working with different companies, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and different, and they're all, we're providing this service for free, so they can really use it to decrease the damage to these victims. So now we have like over 100 organizations using this technology to keep their platform safe. Okay. And the next step for us is to really bring this awareness to not just these 100 organizations that's been working with us, but we want to have this technology built in our product for all our customers, enterprise customers. So this is telling them that, well, it's not just that the images outside of your organization on the internet or websites that you should be concerned about or that you can do something. if this image is within your organization and you're using Microsoft product Azure, which is already built in with photo DNA technology, the customers get this for free, that they can also do this matching within their organization. If their employees are viewing these kind of images and there's a match, then the company itself can actually do something as well. They can ask their employees to take down this image and restrict them from sending it further. Right? So, but this is not a spread yet. It's just a new initiative for Microsoft. So now we are trying to talk to all our customers about this PhotoDNA cloud solution. And it is a free solution for them. We would like to encourage them to adopt it in their environment. Okay. So it's very secure, right? And it's efficient. The matching can be done in a very efficient way. And the interoperability, we have made it into a REST API, and it would work on Android system as well as OS system or Windows system. And then another thing we did, which was quite recent, it's in December 2015, we also updated our PhotoDNA skill, and now the speed is like 10 to 20 times faster than before. The matching time is 20 times faster. So this is something else that we are doing. We are doing everything we can and hoping that this problem can be decreased. And we do realize that this is something not any single sector could solve the problem. Everyone has to come in and do it together. That's why We Protect is a very important initiative in UK. Right. So now, apart from, so for the enterprise customers, of course, if it's a big company, we encourage them to adopt it. And if they're internet service providers, like ISPs, their content is generated by their users, we strongly encourage them to adopt that, because that's where a lot of images will be uploaded. Okay. And another thing we do in DCU is protecting the elderlies. This I will just go quickly. And how am I doing with time? Probably 2 minutes. Okay, so I'll do it really fast. So for the elderly people, now it's a very big problem that a lot of pensions are being taken away because there are a lot of scams, tech scams. Right? So DCU is also working on this with different organizations trying to protect this kind of population, a vulnerable population. Okay, so these are just some numbers that we feel we're confident that we can do because we have a lot of data. We are like a data center. Microsoft has a lot of data because of our products is used widely worldwide. And we feel we can analyze this data and maybe come up with some better solutions in the future. So I'll just quickly go through this, and I'll probably skip the malware part. But I would like to talk about a latest project that we have done in China. Usually every year inside Microsoft, we have an event called Hackathon, which means that they encourage all our employees to design new technology skills that could solve a problem that's currently in the world. And then we would pick out the top 5 or 6 inventions every year. And this year, last year, the Hackathon 2015, they picked out this technology called Photo MC. It's photo of missing children. And in China, this is a huge problem. Their children go missing because of kidnaps, or maybe there's a strong belief of boys are better than girls, or child labor. So they applied this technology to find these missing children. However, there's a problem because children you have photo of a child, but children grow up much faster, and they change, right? They change. They don't like if for me 3 years later, I hope I still look the same. But for a child, 3 years later, they probably change dramatically. So how do we use this technology to find missing children? And surprisingly, this technology can actually, it's the same. They do a hash, right? They do some calculation. And it could recognize up to 75%, right? Even if you grow up, they can still recognize you. So it's a really exciting project for them in China. It's a pilot project, just a reminder. It's not a proper solution yet. It's just something that we're doing. And hopefully this could be used for other uses. That will be great. And let me show you the child that they actually found early this year. So if you take a look, the initiative was last year, June, and only within like half a year, right, in June 29th, they found someone. So this child, he is intellectually a little bit disabled, right? So, and then he went missing in 2012, and then his parents put his picture up, and he was actually found very quickly, but he's been missing for 4 years, and the technology still popped up his picture, and said it was 75% similarity, right? So they're probably, and another difficult part is this child is with a disease called I don't know how to say in English. 唐氏症. What was it? Down syndrome. Yeah. So for us, human eyes, actually they look very similar to us, but the technology can tell the difference. So that's another thing we discovered, and this is just a great initiative, and we hope that we can bring this over to Taiwan as well, or over the world. So yeah, I think I'm using over my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Celeste. It's very interesting that you're closing with this, because this morning I was reading on the news that in the US right now, those days, an organization called Thorn, Digital Defenders, and they are partnering with Microsoft, and they're doing a hackathon over there, and exactly working on digital facial recognition solutions. Because if I may add and build on what you were saying, this is useful for missing children, but also for children who are portrayed on the images of sexual abuse and exploitation, because those kids, law enforcement officers, many of them, they're not identified. I mean, they can see them on the pictures, they have the pictures on the database, but they don't know who they are. So, meaning they don't know where they are, meaning they cannot rescue them. So this kind of technical solutions is absolutely key, and it's really a positive initiative. So let's move on and have Claire make her presentation. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Claire from APrIGF Taiwan. Okay, today I'm going to talk about what we're doing in Taiwan. First, why we start concerning online child sexual abuse or child online safety, because we found that emerging problem is including children being grooming through internet content, such as the chat room or social networking sites, and the child sex chat arranged online, and the child addicted to internet games and online chatting. And important child sexual abuse material distributed via internet and cyberbullying. Therefore, we began our child online safety project, which including reporting hotline, helpline, education, legislation, and we held child sexual exploitation training initiative for law enforcement every year. Now I would like to introduce what we're doing in our hotline. In 1999, we launched reporting hotline named Web 547 and become a member of International Association of Internet Hotlines, shown as INHOP, since 2005. Follow the law of Taiwan and the press protocol from INHOP. We deal with report content as 3 categories of 60 types, including child sexual abuse content, adult pornography, and another illegal content like porn, video games, or drug, and so forth. And last year, we received over 8,000 reports from internet users. And among them, over 200 reports are child sexual abuse contents. And when we, if the content is located in Taiwan, we will report to our law enforcement. If not, we will report to our hotline member or foreign law enforcement like FBI, HSI, or VGT member. This is the statistical number for 6 years. You can. Some people may think it's not a serious problem because maybe 200 case reports or 300 reports compared to maybe in United States or in Europeans, they has a huge number. But I would like to remind you, every single report, they have hundreds of images inside. So this is the situation in Taiwan. And in this slide, I list the related laws and acts in Taiwan. Basically, they all define producing, selling, disseminating, displayed, and position child sexual abuse content, and the grooming for the purpose for sexual content with children should be illegal. Now I would like to share some new development in Taiwan. 2 years ago, we was reviewing amendment and reform the Child and Youth Sexual Exploitation Prevention Act, and it will come into force in this year. And the key element of the amendment, like we change the concept to sexual transaction to sexual exploitation. This is a major one. And we define the 4 types of child and youth sexual exploitation, including child prostitution, child pornographic performance, child sexual abuse, and the child as a bar host or escort. And we also enhance the responsibility of the ICT industry. Like right now, we define the teleservice provider, internet platform provider, and application service provider. They all should have to complete with the notice and takedown procedure and preserve the illegal content for at least 90 days and cooperate with the police for investigation. And the company who fail to obey the act will get a fine. And certainly we punish regarding online sexual exploitation. Like watching child pornography performance through stream video should be illegal.
Excuse me, can you explain what's notice and takedown, maybe for those people who are not familiar?
Oh, okay. Notice takedown is right now is basically the universal principle. It's when the company industry like like Google or Facebook, when they get a report in their space, they have some person upload illegal content. When they get a report, they should be remove the content immediately, and they should serve the evidence for the police, for the law enforcement to do the further investigation. We want to enhance the speed to remove the content, because every single second the image lays in the internet, that means maybe 1 or 2 or hundreds of person have the chance to see the image. And for the victim in the image is a second or third abuse again. So the primary duty is to remove the content immediately. So right now, the major company, they have to follow this procedure. Yeah. And IMEC is International Center for Missing and Exploitation Children. I think the speaker next, she will mention more, but I want to highlight some criteria here. They conduct research into law that exists around the world to have a better understand how countries deal with the problem. Last year, they published the 8th edition of child pornography model legislation and the global reviews. I use child pornography because in the United States they officially use this term. Okay. They use these 6 main criteria to value the country. They have a better or sufficient law to do with this. Okay. You can see the first one, does they have a general outload of child pornography? And does they define what child pornography is? And does they criminalize the computer facilitate offense? Do they ban possession of child pornography regardless of intent to distribution? And the last 2 is very important. They define, does national legislation require ISP to report suspect child pornography to law enforcement or to some other agency, and requires ISP to develop and implement data retention and preservation provision. Why is it important? Because we are not merely to remove the content. We want to catch the bad guy, and we want to rescue the victim. So if the content just removed, the law enforcement cannot have enough evidence or information to do the further investigation. So so this time they highlight the data retention and the preservation is very important. So you can see the industry or IT company play an important role in combating child sexual abuse. But the challenge we are facing now, even in Asia Pacific region, there are some countries that does not define ISP or ICP ability to report child sexual abuse content. And the second one, you can see in the slide, this is popular in Taiwan, like Facebook, YouTube, Google, Baidu, or Line, WeChat, Vblog. It's very popular in Taiwan, but Facebook, Google, YouTube, or Instagram, Microsoft, Twitter, they all come from United States, and they follow the United States law. And like Line, basically it's based in Japan. And WeChat and Baidu or Vblog is from mainland China. So international internet company report child sexual abuse to their authority based on their home country law. Do they also report to the case to the authority of a country where illegal users are located? Take Facebook for example. There are a lot of users in Taiwan. When they detect child sexual abuse being uploaded to Facebook, they will submit the tip to NIMEC, it's a United States organization. What if the illegal contents come from Taiwan? We cannot get the information, so we can get the bad guy's information, so we cannot catch the guy in Taiwan. So what if like Google, when they detect the person, it's the same. And then the third, the global internet company like Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Twitter, they all has reached a consensus on working together to combat child sexual abuse material. But for regional ones, how do how to make them to be part of a member and dedicate to protect children from sexual exploitation, like Line or the company from mainland China. I don't have an answer right now. Actually, I have to tell the truth. I don't have an answer right now. That's why we come together. We can have some conversation. So I want to emphasize again, the picture you see is not just a picture. It's not a pornography picture, a sexual picture. They are not. We are talking about online child sexual abuse content. It's not a victimless crime. The victim inside, they are abused us again and again when the people once the people review their image. So they will tolerate the entire life. They will live with the trauma for every day of their life, and it will repeat every time when the image of them be victimization is distribution. So government, law enforcement, NGO like us, or industry, you and me, everyone, we should work together to protect children from online sexual exploitation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Claire. Very interesting points you raised. And the last one, particularly because many people do tend to think that because those are images, they just look at them, they don't touch a child, so they think there's no victim. That's the argument. You know, there's no we don't damage any child. We're just looking at the picture. So that's why the community, those of us involved with this kind of crimes, we do insist that it's not a victimless crime. I mean, there's a picture and there's a child who has been physically, sexually abused in order for this picture to be taken. So this is a very important point. Thank you very much. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mary. Hello, everyone. I'm David from Dockies Foundation. Instead for the internet nowadays is keep revolution. They will get some new initiative coming up. So for my presentation, we will mainly focus on some new initiative. At the other sense is how the advocacy work and actual work we are doing right now. Okay, that's why my topic is about alleviate out the child right on dots. As mentioned by Kara, she also mentioned about the UNCRC, which is the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. I think it's very important principles to be adopted and to be mentioned throughout the period of time when we mention how we can protect children online. In the other sense of this workshop, we also talk about the collaboration of different stakeholders. So I will also mention about this area in my speech. And nowadays, as we all know, ICANN is the cooperators of the internet. They got a new program called New GTLD program, was launched in 2011, 2011. On the sense, it allowed people to apply for new domain names on the internet. Right now, maybe we will get .com, .org, .hk, or .tw. But in the coming future, they got more to come. For example, movie, blog, play, games. This is the new domain names that will be coming in our future. In 2014, the GAG of ICANN, they have written down some related domain names which is in the new round of new GTLD application, which is related to children. For example, dog kits, kinder, games, play, school, toys. This is the domain names which is coming up online, and some was already dedicated and will be soon appear in our internet. Sorry for the action is a bit late. Okay. On us, we think because we are also now bidding for the DocKids domain names, but we want to run as a not-for-profit initiative. On the sense, we would like to run this as create a child-friendly internet from the top-level domain names. But how? For the best interest of children will be of one of the sense. As I've mentioned about kids-friendly or child-friendly, I think most of us will think about this in this way. Maybe the photos on this website is with simple language. It will be easy to understand. It's more interaction to be done among students and the internet content providers. As I've also mentioned about the UNCRC, which is United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, I think we would like to run a kids-friendly internet in this way. This is the way that we will adopting the principles of UNCRC. It stated in these three basic principles is non-discrimination, with child participation, with the best interest of children. And I think extending these principles on internet, it can be like, if we consider best interest of children, always we will think about how we can protect children. But at the same time, we would like to allow children to get the rights to access to internet, and also the information they will get will be freely to be accessible. For non-discrimination, I think all of us maybe understand the problems of digital divide. Non-discrimination, maybe on a sense we can understand this way, is everyone got the access to internet, in the sense we were supporting children to get online. Last but not least is about the children's participation. On the sense of children participation is very crucial in the stuff, because when we consider what is the best interest, children's voice should be put into consideration, not only just from the perspective from adults and other caregivers, but children's participation, their voice, consider them will be fits the needs of children themselves. For us, as I've mentioned previously on the collaboration of different stakeholders, we are now working on some content guidelines and some best practice of how the domain name should be run. For example, the child sexual abuse content should not be put online. It should be strictly prohibited online. But on the other sense, it got some great areas on internet. For example, how about the commercial advertisement online? Is McDonald's serving junk food to children is allowed on this website? Because for the domain names, which is targeting children, it seems like putting out, we like spotting out a group of children users or target users for the internet. And then it will be easier for the commercial to provide information and provide content to those internet users. In a sense, this kind of bad practice should also be mentioned and also be discussed, not only from the child rights communities, but also from all internet users, the industry, or even like business sectors. All of us should be involved in a sense. And as I've mentioned about the children participation, I think for the next billions of internet should be about children and youth. How we can better engage them in the discussion process and know about their own rights and responsibility online is crucial issue to be dealt with nowadays. If we haven't done anything right now, it will be, I think, our future internet and of our future development for the sustainable development of the whole internet and cyberspace. For us, we have organized like the Children's Forum during the ICANN meetings in Beijing, which is in 2013. We invite the children's group and China organization from all over the world, like Armenia, Cambodia, Egypt, Hong Kong, Indonesia, mainland China. They will be attending the conference not only to understand how the ICANN is operating, but also discuss the issues they are concerned most. This is the first step to get them involved. I know that the policy discussion is quite tough for children, and not only for children, for newbies it's also very tough. Without this kind of capacity building, we can do nothing on empowering children for a better internet in our future. And also, we have also working on some initiative in China. They got a children's summit just organized in this early month. About 10 main countries' children have attended this summit. It's also adopting the role model of UNIGF is embracing multi-stakeholder discussion. They got the role play sessions on putting their own position into different perspectives to think from different perspectives. that will be allow them to have a sense of how the governance nowadays is. So in the sense of how we can tackle the problems of child online safety, children's participation and empowerment should be another area we should focus on. This is some of the work we are working on. And of course, for the new domain names I've mentioned about DocKids is upcoming to be a new revolution on internet. We go through the process, and right now is on the last stage. We will knowing the result quite soon. But on the sense, no matter who get the domain names, I think it is important to let the whole community knows about the coming threats and coming opportunity, how we can cooperation and collaborate together. So I think to building a community is crucial, because for nowadays internet is not just a country issue of just one country or two countries, but it is affecting various countries in a sense. That's why we're trying very hard to promote the ideas and gaining a support. No matter who runs domain names, it should be for the best interest for children and for the well-being of children. This is of our belief. That's why the cooperation is crucial. Children participation is crucial. It got risk on this new initiative online. With the appropriate guideline, we will put children in high risk. But we can see in other ways it's got opportunities. Because it is a new initiative, we can have some campaigns or some advocacy work to be done to build up a platform to engage everyone on the discussion. Especially for internet governance, I think it's quite different from the past governance structure. It allows everyone to discuss and concern and also making policies. This is the critical resources will be soon appear online, and we want to invite everyone to give us your ideas and also engage in the discussion process. As the workshop is also mentioned about the collaboration of different stakeholders, I would also like to introduce a program we are organizing in the coming future, which is in the preparation process. It will be soon appear in next month. This is a e-helpline initiative. DocKids Foundation is also partnering with the Net Mission, the youth group for the Asia region, and also the local partners, local partner Youth Online Association, who are based in Hong Kong, for this initiative. We want to bring the reporting mechanism on the child abusive content online to Hong Kong as a reporting mechanism. We also gain the support from State of Children Hong Kong, getting some financial support on them. There will be a upcoming initiative, but on the sense of this website we will be doing on the reporting mechanism, which is a beta version right now. It got a soft launch soon on this this coming time. That on the sense, I would like to also state it is important to get different stakeholders to involve to tackle the problems, because as you have seen, the organizers and supporters is just coming from the civil society. But for the issue is not just can be deal with based on the effort from the communities and from the civil society. It also needs the industry support and also the government support. For example, because I just list out some objectives and outcomes and the work we are right now and the network we are right now connecting with. To state it, for example, the first objective, it should link with the global network to combat the CSAM, which is the child sexual abuse materials. We got some network with InHope. They are doing a great work to create a network of reporting those materials online. I mean, those CSAM materials online. Because when they get the report on the child abusive content, there is not just on one country's issue. Because sometimes, or not sometimes, but most of the time, the materials is not just hosted in one country. It should be hosted in different countries. in a sense, a network, a global network is need to be adopted, and collaboration among countries is important in a sense to taking down those materials by collective effort. For the second point I mentioned about is the multi-sectoral engagement to create trafficking internet. Because the reporting mechanism, if it's just hosted by a civil society, the activity takedown cannot be run that smoothly. It should be cooperate with like ISP and also like law enforcement department, like the police force in Hong Kong, to do the activity takedown, and the process will be run in a efficient rate. So that's why multi-stakeholder engagement and cooperation is crucial. But on the other sense, not only the reporting hotline is important, it's also got some engagement projects and safety projects already done, already provided nowadays. You may know, for example, in Hong Kong, we got the Privacy Commission. They are promoting the data privacies of children and also every internet users. They are always doing the work on data privacy, and also for some NGOs, they are already having campaigns and some ambassador programs on promoting the issues. So I think on the other sense, not just like take down or stop the image is just one way. We should also do in the other way to have cooperation with other initiatives and also existing child safer internet initiative to get cooperation to fill up all the gaps for children promotion, for children protection. Of course, the training and overseas experience sharing is also another sufficient issue to make we can move the thing forward and work together. So in the conclusion, I think the issue is not just on one country. Cross-border and multi-country cooperation is needed. For multi-stakeholder collaboration is also needed, like government, industry, NGOs, caregivers like parents, teachers, and of course children themselves is important in the issue to get them empowered. This is the model we will be embracing, and looking forward to see some cooperation together. I think to close it in a slogan, maybe. Together we can build a better internet together. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your attention. I'll pass the mic back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Very interesting. For those of you who might doubt that domain names are not that important, David, of course, tried to explain that it is important. In the latest reports of the Internet Watch Foundation, which is the equivalent of ECPAT Taiwan, its online reporting mechanism, one of the biggest in the world in the UK, for the first time this year, they say that they found many images in websites using new domain names for the first time in the history since they exist. Of course, the domain names are quite new, so that's the first time they show up, and they took action on 436 websites that were created with those new domain names, just with the objective of sharing child abuse materials. So this is why this is very important, on top of what David just said. Thank you very much. I think now it's for Bindu it's the turn of Bindu. I don't know whether she's hearing us.
Yes, I do hear you. I've been listening to everyone.
Thank you very much. The floor is yours, Bindu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Greetings from Singapore. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be among a group of people dedicated to child protection. I'd like to thank David and from Kids Foundation and Murray Lowry from the ECPAT International for inviting me to be part of this session. The International Center has been a member of the Dynamic Coalition on Child Pornography since its formation, and previously worked closely with Anjan Bose and ex-ECPAT international staff, and I think ex-colleague of Murray Lowry. So a pleasure to be here, and I guess being the last or maybe one from last speaker makes my life easier, for a lot of people have covered much ground on what I was going to talk about. I'll just start with a brief introduction to the International Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and as Marie-Laure said, we refer to ourselves as ICMEC. ICMEC is a global NGO headquartered in Alexandria, Virginia, USA, and we seek to make the world a safer place for children by eradicating child abduction, sexual abuse, and exploitation through advocacy, training, and collaboration. To achieve that, we identify gaps in the global community's ability to protect children from abduction, sexual abuse, and exploitation. And we expertly assemble people, resources, and tools to help fill those gaps. Next slide. Sorry, I think I've been remiss in saying about next slide.
It's my fault, sorry. I was concentrating on listening to you and I forgot about the slides. So next slide. What we do is the next slide?
Yes, thank you. So how we do a fair amount of research, and nice to see, I think it was Cheryl from APrIGF Taiwan, talk about ICMEC's child pornography model law research. So we use a lot of our research and evidence-based studies to advocate for changes in laws, conventions, treaties, and systems to protect children worldwide. We also do, globally, we train and assist law enforcement, legal professionals, NGOs, and governments around the whole issue of crimes against children online. And again, APrIGF had mentioned about law enforcement training. Just in June, we, in partnership with APrIGF Taiwan, we did a law enforcement training for the Taiwan police. And the one program that I will highlight are one of the global coalitions that we lead, one of them being the Financial Coalition Against Child Pornography, and the other being the Global Health Coalition, really looking at the whole health issue and protection of children around child abuse. And all of this we do by promoting public-private partnerships. However, as a lot of the other speakers have said, I would like to address the use of the term child pornography. There has been recently, and APrIGF International in fact came out with an excellent semantics and terminology report, which ICMEC was a part of. There's been a lot of movement towards using the term child sexual abuse material or child sexual exploitation material. But for this purpose, and also for a lot of the work we do, we retain the term child pornography, for unfortunately, it is the term commonly used in legislation in all countries around the world, as well as in the UN legal conventions. Next slide. So why focus on online? I know a lot of others have talked about it. I just want to highlight the fact that one, it's online, and two, a fair amount of it is commercial. People will actually pay for these images. Viewing these images, or even, as we've unfortunately seen from the Asia region being pioneered, live on-demand child sexual abuse coming out of some countries. However, I'd like to highlight that prior to the arrival of the internet, it was extremely difficult to obtain these images. A person interested in something like this had to know someone who had these images, or take considerable personal risk in producing such images. And also prior to the internet, someone with a sexual interest in children felt isolated and alone. And using 1995 as baseline, Interpol reported knowing of around 4,000 unique child abuse images in total worldwide in hard copy. However, today we know that cyberspace is home to more than, as we heard from the Microsoft presentation, more than 1 billion images circulating, with a huge number, I think I did write the number down, being uploaded every 500 images being traded online every 60 seconds. So today offenders are able to interact online with people of like interests worldwide. He or she is part of a global community that shares these images, fantasies, techniques, and in some cases even children. all of this is done with the virtual anonymity of the internet. Next slide, please. I won't go into the whole issue of it is a victimless crime, because speakers ahead of me have done a good job, kind of making the point that this is not a victimless crime. Once the image is up there, it's there in perpetuity. So as I said, why online? As you can see, there are close to 7.4 billion people in this world, and over 3.4 billion are connected internet users. 3.8 billion of these are unique mobile users. So the internet is certainly rapidly changing that access, and therefore the whole issue of risks to children online is exponential. Next slide. And as we see from one of the reports of the UN Special Rapporteur on sale of children, child prostitution and child pornography report, at any given moment on the internet globally, there are 750,000 offenders out there trawling the web, looking for these kinds of images, exchanging them. And that only highlights the risk the children are at. Next slide, please. And as we can see, data from InHope tells us that anywhere from 7 to 10% over the last 3 years are images of children 2 years or under. Majority of these images are of children under the age of 10 to 12. And unfortunately, girls are more at risk than boys. Next slide, please. Thank you. And on the commercial side, I'd like to highlight that over the years, anywhere between 9 to 18% of websites confirmed to be hosting child sexual abuse materials are commercial in nature. And what does that mean? As I said earlier, people will actually use electronic payment platforms like credit cards, debit cards, PayPal accounts, Western Union accounts, remittance services, increasingly mobile digital wallets, as well as digital currencies like Bitcoin, to pay for access or outright exchange of these images. Next slide, please. And as we are all aware, all sorts of platforms on the internet are used, whether it's just plain websites where e-merchants are using these as business opportunities, cyber lockers or file hosting services, image hosting services, social networks, as well as banner sites. So a whole range of websites and internet platforms are being misused. Next slide, please. And what is the reality of this? I know Microsoft, we got some dizzying figures there, but I'd just like to report out, just coming out of the US, the cyber tip line, which is the hotline reporting mechanism in the US, which was formed in 1998, has since then, through April 2015, received more than 4.3 million reports of suspected child sexual exploitation materials. The National Center also runs a child victim identification program, which was started in 2002, and again through April 2015. They have reviewed and analyzed more than 139 million such images, trying to rescue and look for children who have been abused. Another statistic that I bring forward is from CyberTip Canada. CyberTip Canada is the reporting mechanism hotline in Canada. Over a 2-year period of 2007 to 2009, they did a survey of payment mechanisms that were advertised online. And what they found was 27 different payment mechanisms were advertised on various child sexual abuse websites. 85% of these sold memberships, with recurring monthly payments ranging from anywhere $4 to close to $500. So when you see this kind of commercial enterprise, you know that the financial industry has a role to play. And lastly, I bring up data coming out from the UNODC report on transnational crime, which was put out in 2010. They estimated that the industry generates about 50,000 new images each year, and the global industry is worth about 250 million globally. Next slide, please. So what can we do about it? I was asked to talk about cross-sector partnerships. I'll give you an example of one of the programs we run by the name of the Financial Coalition Against Child Pornography. The Financial Coalition was first launched in 2006 in the US with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the International Center providing the secretariat. The aim here was to disrupt the economics of the child pornography business. It's a next slide, sorry, Marilare. It's a powerful coalition, a partnership between the financial industry, internet companies, Facebook, Microsoft, Google, and others are members too, who are working collaboratively and voluntarily with the National and the International Center as well as law enforcement to really understand the business models of these illegal merchants that are selling illegal content but using very legitimate corporate platforms for the sale and dissemination of this. In the US, we say that the coalition is operational, where the financial industry has actually provided law enforcement live accounts to use to do what we call test transactions. And that's what helps us understand what kind of business models these e-merchants are using. And under US law, if law enforcement is doing a test transaction, it's legal and does not amount to entrapment. So it's a robust example of cross-sector partnerships between industry, different industry, financial, technology, as well as law enforcement and civil society. Next slide. In 2009, APrIGF set up the Singapore office and launched the Asia Pacific Financial Coalition to really widen the fight against the commercial dissemination and sale of child sexual abuse materials. The aim here, once again, is to disrupt the economics of it. But what we realized initially, that at least in this part of the world, we had to do a fair amount of awareness building, educating industry, as well as governments around the fact that this happens on very legitimate corporate platforms. And it's not only an issue, which I've very often heard in my initial days of this work, was, oh, it's a Western problem, it does not happen in Asia. However, the internet knows no borders, and hence it is a global issue. And a lot of the effort has been in awareness and education building, and more recently it's been to build national networks in targeted countries where we can actually work in collaboration with law enforcement at the national level in trying to understand these business models. So a fair amount of due diligence through industry and law enforcement cooperation. Next slide. As you can see, the Asia Pacific membership is quite a diverse stakeholder group here. We have banks, we have the payment industry, which is the MasterCard, the Visa, PayPal. We have different law enforcement from different countries. We have industry association, for example, the Bankers Association, the Card Risk Council in Australia, technology companies, as well as our NGO partners. It's a diverse group, really, as I think so one of the speakers said earlier. This is one issue where even industry where there may be competitors on the commercial side, have come together to work and fight this fight together. Next slide, please.
Bintu, I'm sorry, but you would need to wrap up, please, because otherwise we won't have enough time for questions.
I'm nearly there. Yeah, next slide. So as I've already said, in the Asia-Pacific region, what I've done is a fair amount of seminars and roundtables around the issue, creating awareness. We've done specific country roundtables in New Zealand, Australia, and Hong Kong, where you see the pictures. In New Zealand, I actually run a working operational coalition where banks and law enforcement are doing test transactions. PayPal has been a great sponsor, and we've sponsored a fair number of best practice papers. And we also have a webinar around merchant best practices for banking industry. Next slide, my lovely, thanks. And here, I won't go into the details, I won't read them out, are the several best practice papers that we've put together targeting the banking industry, the technology side, and also various trends in online crime and migration hosting. And these are all resources that are available on our website, so they're all in the public domain. You can go to the next slide. And we're all very aware of the challenges here in terms of issue awareness, varying and differentiated policy frameworks and legal frameworks in different countries. Cybercrime is a national. It certainly undermines national laws. Legislating and policing globally, the cyberspace has been a challenge, and all countries are working on that. And new emerging technologies are forever challenging us. So we really have to keep ahead of how the technologies are being misused. And I leave, I'll finish my presentation and leave you with thought on the next slide in terms of how crucial it is to have cross-sector partnerships. Once again, I quote out of the UNODC report in 2010, and I say it aloud so that we really kind of sinks in, is to deal with these markets, creative solutions are needed, drawing on techniques not necessarily found in the law enforcement toolkit. So I think we would all agree in the room here is that law enforcement cannot prosecute their way out of this issue. Industry, law enforcement, NGOs, and all other players have a role to play here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bintu. So now our last speaker will make a brief presentation, then we can open the floor. Thank you, and apologies for leaving you last and with such short amount of time.
No, I will be very efficient with timing. I do not have a presentation. Consistent with the philosophy of my platform, I'll be concise, like our Facebook posts are concise, and run through some core values and maybe spark a discussion here amongst the participants. First of all, I want to thank the room and everybody who is here and wanting to engage, and we want to make sure that we return some time so that there's interactivity in terms of discussions in the room to allow other people also voice in the discussion. I just want to reflect on the values which we have as a company. Few things which, of course, I wanted to share. We just announced our quarterly results, I think yesterday, last night local time, early morning today in the US. And Facebook as a platform has crossed 1.7 billion monthly active users, which is a great number. And also to reflect in terms of the robustness of our community and the way the community acts as a watchdog in terms of flagging content which compromises safety or creates concerns around safety is something which we value as a core value of the platform a lot. I want to reflect on some fundamental 5-point principles which we have and our core values. So first of all is a community standards, where we have very clearly laid out what is okay to share on Facebook and what is not. And there is no place for pornographic material on Facebook. We as a platform, we do not permit it, we do not allow it. And the second principle is that we have very robust tools on our platform. There is reporting button on every piece of content to flag content which is harmful. and which is a violation of our community standards. These are reviewed 24/7 by different teams which are there in Facebook, which have language capabilities, because the local language capability is a very essential requirement of global internet, and these then get actioned upon for violations. We have a very effective and a robust help center with resources which puts information at the hands and fingertips of users to keep themselves safe, control their privacy settings, and also make sure that they have adequate information in terms of reporting offending content. The fourth is the element of partnerships. We are very big in terms of partnering with local NGOs as well as global NGOs to make sure that we are taking feedback in terms of improving our processes, in terms of improving our enforcement, and also collaborating with them on safety education and enforcement. We have, as Celeste talked about, we have implemented photo DNA for years now. There is zero tolerance for CEI, child exploitative imagery on the platform. We work very closely with agencies like NCMEC, WeProtect, the Child Exploitation Online Protection Center, as well as the Interpol and the Internet Watch Foundation to make sure that there is active collaboration in terms of enforcing against such type of content online. With that, Marie, I know you want to spark off a discussion and a conversation in this room and take input. So I'll hand this back to you, and then we can see.
Thank you very much. Again, very interesting points you raised, and I, for one, I would like to ask you many questions, but I won't be selfish. Please, I would like to open the floor and hear your views, comments, criticism, whatever. Feel free to intervene and share with us your thoughts. So, who wants to start? Oh, okay. But then, yeah, for recording, we need it.
Thank you. My name is Kai. I'm from a human rights NGO in Malaysia. I've got two questions. One is for Claire. So in your presentation, you mentioned about one of the ways to combat child sexual abuse material is to control content which is being broadcasted or posted that may result in child sexual abuse. So could you give me an example of those content that may result in child sexual abuse? That's my first question. My second question is, in many countries in Asia, sex is still considered as taboo. So sex education is not even in some school curriculum. So how do we engage children in sex education meaningfully in these countries and without falling into the trap of adopting a paternalistic approach in terms of sexual education? Also, I noticed that religious leaders are not part of the discussions or stakeholders, because often it's the religious leaders that have, like obstructing sex education. Should they be invited into the discussions?
So, Claire.
Okay. I try my best to answer your question. The content we define, the child sexual abuse content, basically we follow the INHOP press protocol. So including child sexual abuse content is mean real sexual abuse, sexual assaultment. So you can see that a victim, a girl or a boy, they are being sexual assault by anything, by human or by man or woman or anything like animal or any objective. So.
Maybe it's a language issue, yeah. Because you work, the legal framework criminalizes sexual abuse, images of sexual abuse, right? Yeah. But I think you're asking images that may be. I mean, okay. it means in English not necessarily. So that's the question. Maybe it's a translation issue. Is it or is it?
So I can ask my colleague to help me a little bit. 方婷可以帮我一下，他的意思是说，他 So I can clarify. Okay. It's totally depend on the situation that just it really happened, because sometimes we think it's a child sexual content, but maybe in another country like in United States, maybe they think it's not. Like especially when the victim, the victim in the image, they are young, they are a teenager. They may think maybe they are adult. So they were thinking they are adult pornography, not child sexual abuse content. But in this situation, we can understand it's a gray area. But if we can certainly confirm this victim, when she or he be filmed at the time he or she just in high school, and we have official document, we can ask them, yeah, we can prove this victim is under 18. So they will help to remove, and this will confirm the child sexual abuse content. So as like Google. So if we have a good example, because several years ago, there were senior high school girl, teenager. She took her nude picture to send to her boyfriend, and it upload to it displayed on the internet. So even though the case is sent to the prosecutor, and the case is closed, but right now we can see this the picture still on the internet, and everyone if you type the certain certain word, you can find a list, the URL of this the content of her new pictures. So we asked to Google to remove all the list, and we clarified every URL we found, and we present then the official document. So right now, if you type the content, type the word, you cannot find this URL. So this is a gray area.
It clarifies your question. So very quickly, if I may answer the other two, because actually our organization is addressing work with the religious leaders. We just right now, those days, we're about to publish 2 guidelines for action for religious leaders. We produced them with specialists, with multi-faith-based organizations. So we tried to look at to produce a material to raise awareness among those communities, so that the religious leaders could use it with their own community members. And that's a very valid point you're raising. They can have a lot of impact, because sometimes we know that this is kind of a struggle to touch upon those issues within those communities. And sex education, at least my take would be that we're speaking here of images of children being sexually abused. So the sex education is it would be about teaching them, if they are victims of sexual abuse, how to react, and what would be the recommended, like talk to an adult, like the basic recommendations. If someone touches you, you do this or you do that. But this is kind of a tricky thing, because you have to address this in a way. It's very delicate matter, and we know that most of the images. There are studies showing that family members are the ones doing that, actually, more than non-family members, foreign strangers. So it's sexual abuse within the family. So it's a very complex issue to address. Another question from the floor, please. You next, and then you come on third. Thank you. Do you have mic over there?
Hello, I'm Shubha from Nepal. I work for a women rights organization called Loom. So my question could be on different levels, and it's on for Celeste. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? So first thing is, because I'm not from technical background, that's why this question might sound quite odd to technical people. Firstly, you were mentioning about the photo DNA cloud service. So how do you detect certain photos are around child sexual abuse? Because, for example, it's not about the activity, right? Abuse is never about what is being done. For example, if I'm kissing her, in the photo, it's just I'm kissing her. But it could be abuse for her from a lens of victim and from a lens of perpetrator. So how do you verify that? Second is, again, if there is a guideline or certain things, I'm sure you do have a guideline of these are the things that's called sexual abuse. But those guidelines are also made by people like us, with our own values, with our own perception, and with our own notion. So that will be highly judgmental, like as per person or the group of people's view, or wherever they are from, the culture values and all sorts of things. So how do you balance that thing? It's kind of tricky, for me at least.
You correctly pronounced my name. Yes, thank you for the questions. I think actually Claire can weigh in on this because I'm not a technical person either. But so our technology should be neutral, right? We don't make the judgments on what kind of pictures are considered illegal, right? However, we give this power to organizations like APAT or police officers. And if they think these are the pictures that should be considered illegal, they will give it to APAT or other organizations. And then they will digitize, make it into a hash, a number.
Oh, I can add more because Microsoft donated the technology to NIMEC. NIMEC is an organization in United States. In U.S. code, they define if anyone or any company or when they file illegal child sexual abuse content, they should report. They should report to NIMEC. So they have a huge database to collect all the information. And when they confirmed this content, the victim inside as a children, they have a project called Victim Identification Project. So they will have a different file for a victim. They will collect everyone. So they use photo DNA into this system. They should be the words and the words content. It means normally they were under 14. The children is under 14. And the content is really sexual abuse. They will put into the database. So it just makes sure this standard is suited for every country. It's, because every country maybe have a different law. Maybe in Japan they are not so strict. So they just want to make sure this standard is suited for every country. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Basically, the answer to your question is that in each country there is a law, and then in theory, when the law is well done, there is a definition of what constitutes child pornography. So law enforcement will, against those legal parameters, define whether under their own domestic legislation the picture qualifies as child porn or not. You raising an issue that is very interesting because depending on cultural perspective, social factors also intervene in the way you see the pictures. But here we're not speaking of that. We're speaking of images that's based on the law, are legal or illegal. It is, and then we consider there is a legal gap. Then, policy makers and lawmakers in your own country should amend the legislation so that there is so that they address the gap. And actually, ICMEC, part of the model law legislation that they have is to, point out the countries and yes.
I think the point you raise about normative values is a very correct one. But to add to what Marie says, different there are two ways in which this happens. There's local civil society, local community, which would be routinely flagging these kind of behaviors which they're seeing on the internet. So that creates community engagement in terms of just a police action. That's number one. Number two is that there is momentum in different countries now in the South Asia region and broader also to enact national legislation. So for instance, in India recently, there has been what is known as POSCO, Prevention of Sexual Offences Against Children. And there are very clear detailing out there which sort of incorporates the normative values which are there in the country, which has the kind of the recognition of the kind of behaviors which you talk about, so that the police has a cause of action to go and sort of issue notices or sort of get to that kind of wrongful behavior. So I think it's a combination of both community action as well as national legislation making.
Please.
Hi, this is Mohit from ISOQA chapter. I mean, at the outset, I would like to, commend all the work which you and your respective organization are doing in addressing this issue. My question is actually from Celeste and David. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping I pronounce your name correctly after her. My question is a little technical. I'm a technologist, so my question is a little technical. I'm not sure if you will be able to answer, but hopefully you can try.
I don't think I can.
Yeah?
No, yes, I can try, yeah. And if I can't, so I'll bring the question back.
Yeah. My question is about the photo DNA technology which you talked about. And you referred to that you are helping the big, large-scale enterprises in kind of addressing this issue within their environment. So I'm asking, is it only related to the Azure environment? Or, I mean, is it also applicable to the, offsite computing environment which Microsoft has? Because, still, while we have Azure subscription, but we are using the computing resources more offline. So data has been stored offline. In my previous employer, while I was working, we used to do a lot of assessment for different clients, and we have came across a lot of pornographic material which also included these materials, but there was no proper mechanism which we can probably address and get that rectified. So how is Microsoft tackling the offline computing resources issue? So that's what my question was. And to David, my question was about the top level domains. You talked about the .kids. If we have a top level domain which is kind of segregated from the other internet, who will control then that TLD? And secondly, what will be the framework under which we will be permitting any online content in that TLD? And who will be deciding which contents goes on that TLD and what doesn't go? So is there any framework already in place? Is there any directions over that? That's my two questions.
So David, 2 minutes, sorry, because we're really over time, sir.
Okay, then I'll quickly answer. So for the and then another question.
If you can also briefly explain how the Azure system work, because I came from a non-technical background at all. And also my question is, does PhotoDNA goes beyond the Azure platform? Because a lot of the child sexual image are shared through other platforms as well, especially if it's encrypted. Do you have a way to decrypt and look at what's inside? And also dark web is also a common platform which is used to share images. And does this work on video? Because which is another, thank you.
So 1 minute and 1 minute.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically the solution we provide is online. It's a cloud solution. So Azure is a cloud solution. Basically it has to be online. And for offline, usually we have to work individually with different companies. And then that would be more troublesome I would have to say. So that's why we encourage customers to go the online solution, and that's implemented already in our. So Azure is a product of Microsoft. Okay, so the photo DNA technology is already built in the Azure platform. So if customers that use our Azure to use the Windows different kind of products on Azure, then they can also have this opportunity to use this technology already. Yeah, but that's the best I can do for now. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Can I bring in here?
Well, yes.
Hi, Marilara, this is Bindu.
Yep. So for my short answer is yes, there is someone who is doing the regulations, but the question is now who is taking responsibility on doing this action. I will see in two ways. One is ICANN, because ICANN will sign some contract with those applicants for the domain names. Because for the applicants for the domain names, they are the registry. They are taking the responsibility to set policies or even adopting safeguard for the domain names. For example, adopting UNCRC maybe is one of the ideas of how the domain names related to children should be on. That's why the responsibility will come to the applicants of the domain names, which is the registry. They set the policies, and the one who sign contract with is ICANN. ICANN will be the operators of the internet or on the domain names and also the IP address. So I will see in this way. Short answer is yes. There's someone should take responsibility on.
Thank you. Bindu, do you want to say something before we, because we are almost, we need to.
Yes, I just want to add two comments on the Photo DNA and Project Vic side, because I know, we've been working closely on both sides. And the Photo DNA side, I may add, I'm sure Microsoft Celeste would have a good idea too. The Photo DNA hash database that the NICMEC hosts. So what NICMEC has done is that they have hash values for what we call the worst of the worst images. So when the lady from Nepal asked, it could be very subjective. What PhotoDNA is really flagging is known and confirmed child abuse images. So there is no gray area there. If you or I or someone uploads an image that has a PhotoDNA hashtag and is in the NICMEC database, then that is confirmed illegal content. So there's no gray area there. That was one comment. And on the Project Vic side, what Project Vic does is it's a database of videos. So if law enforcement, and increasingly we hear from law enforcement saying, and I think it was ECPA Taiwan who made the point that when we say we've only got 100 or 200 reports, each report has thousands of images. So the same thing when police apprehend huge databases or hard drives of these from the offenders, what Project Vic does is it's a software that can run in the entire hard drive and flag videos or images that have already been viewed by law enforcement and match up those. So those are already in some law enforcement database, and they don't have to re-look at those to confirm it.
Excellent.
So it really considerably reduces the effort that law enforcement needs to put in, and then they can focus their efforts on new images that may not be tagged and flagged or have a DNA hash.
Very good. Thank you very much, Bindu. Those are very, very key points, and unfortunately we don't have more time to discuss it, but they're very key points and further to be discussed, maybe IGF next year. So we have part 2 of the session next year. Thank you very much for attending the session. I hope it was interesting enough. It has been a pleasure being with you, and I can speak on behalf of all the speakers. The questions were very interesting. Thank you to the speakers for accepting the invitation, and that would be it for the moment. And have a good afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bindu.
You're very welcome, Marlon. Hi, David.
Overrun. I'm not sure.